Um, I'm Megan Sinnott. I am with Fireproof doing the marketing and communications, and we are recording this right now. So if at any point you say something that you're like, gosh, I really would rather that didn't get so very popular on YouTube, let me know and I can scrub it from the video. But first, what we're going to do today is we're going to hear from Chris. He's got some great updates, and then we've got updates from a handful of individuals, some who are already here, some who we hope join soon, and then a few opportunities for people to pitch in. We've got some joyful calls for help for ways that people can make Fireproof even more awesome in the next month. So, Chris, do you want to kick off and share some of the roadmap updates, etc.?
Thanks everybody for being here. Yeah. Um, okay, so let's see. What is kind of interesting about where we're at now is we have a bunch of in-flight stuff that when it ties together, it's gonna have like a big picture that we've been waiting for a while. So thanks to Travis, we cleaned up the IPFS connector and we renamed it to the UCAN connector for aesthetic reasons. And then we're going to be able to use that as the self-sovereign auth that enables the cloud to plug in really cleanly to everything that we have so far. So super excited about like these things all on the horizon, and it's like kind of like tough, brainy code to be in. So the community, I mean, a bunch of y'all have already kind of started like reading into how these methods and delegation and all these UCAN capabilities go together. And that's going to be really helpful because we're going to be inventing how this is super easy for application developers using those parts in the next, couple months. So yeah, that'll be shipping in the next release, which is going to be also extra awesome. And hopefully Meno can tell us more about the TypeScript stuff that we've been working on. But we'll come back to all that in a little bit. Then there'll be a call to action at the end of the call, like, hey, check out this upcoming release. We'll do a dev release and we'll make sure that it doesn't break everything, because it really shouldn't be any different, but it's some new plumbing. So yeah, Drew's not here today because he's doing important stuff for his getting to college here or grad school at NC State. So hooray, Drew. But he's also been doing some interesting stuff with the AWS connector. So yeah, I guess that's like my view of where things are at. We have, yeah, it's gonna be all the set. It's gonna be like, what do they say? Slowly and then all at once. So yeah, that's good.
It's been a really incredible month. I don't know what you all can see from each corner of the earth that you are in, but there's been a great increase in contributions this month. And so I don't know if anybody has any questions about what Chris just said, but I would love to hear updates from some people who are here.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for being here, being slightly on the spot.
Marty, is this your first call? Because I'm going to throw you into it right now. Do you mind sharing a little bit about the Go server? You don't have to share screen, but if you'd like to, we can.
Happy to jump in. I have a couple things to show off today. So yeah, I'll just share my screen and see where this goes.
Cool. And Marty, have you been here before? Do you want to introduce yourself?
I was here last time.
Okay, good.
I was sort of a very beginner last time. I think I had just started writing some code for the first time when I joined. And so some of the stuff I was working on, we're going to get to see in action for the first time today. So I guess let me start by switching screens. Can you all see my screen like a web browser with the GitHub page for Fireplace?
Yep.
Perfect. All right, so let me just dive right in. So as I came to Fireproof, one of the first things I wanted to do was see sync working for real in an environment that I controlled, right? So I wanted it on my laptop, my workstations, like the servers I cared about. And I didn't want to do a lot of setup, to be honest. I had my hands full learning Fireproof. I didn't want to be learning AWS or IPFS or anything else at the same time. So I was looking for something that was easy to get started, and I didn't quite find what I was looking for. A lot of the docs talked about like all these connectors. Use any connector you want, except none of them did exactly what I wanted, right? So as a developer, just build your own. So that's what turned into Fireplace. I stumbled onto something that fit me very well, which was I was already an adopter of Tailscale. So if you use Tailscale, you're familiar with it. Basically a VPN. For most people, it's like their home network. They can take with them wherever they go. That's mostly how I use it today. And one of the side effects of that is it's very easy to spin up like a HTTP2 server and have it do full TLS, have a name that's like full DNS is working on your tailnet. So it's set up, it checks all the boxes for ease of use, right? Easily spin up a server, it's got SSL working, so all the crypto APIs are going to work. And I just need to host a very minimal API to get sync working for Fireproof. And so like I said, that turned into Fireplace. I'm going to demo it today. I'll try and talk less and demo more. So I'm already running Fireplace. I've set it up just as the README says. And I should also add, since the last time, there's actually binary releases now. So if you're not a Go developer and you just want to run the thing, there's some pre-built binaries that you can tap into as well. I've already set up the Tailscale part, which is just an off key. I'm running it, as I said earlier. And then we just navigate to that page. So this is Fireplace on my tailnet. And right now we're looking at the databases screen. This is a very simple like CRUD interface. It's listing databases. Now, one thing to point out is this is not what like the screen you're seeing here is not a part of Fireplace per se. It's Fireplace just hosts apps, and so this is actually an app running inside of Fireplace, which is just a little admin utility, right? It's basic CRUD application, so I can click on topics, and again, this is using Fireproof APIs to access the data. I can click on a document. Eventually, maybe I'll build this out. Maybe eventually I just replace this with someone else's much better designed CRUD app for Fireproof. So that's all that's going on there. But as I said, the main purpose of this is to host applications. So while this admin is useful, it's more useful to host other, what I'll call more real apps. And so one of them that I've got running is this to-do app, and that's, again, hosted on the to-do name inside of my tailnet, and I'm just loading it out of a zip file. And this is, again, a repurposed version of the Fireproof to-do stuff you've seen earlier. And yeah, it works. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but to facilitate the second part of my demo, let's create a new list called, let's see, Fireside. I don't know, I tested this a few times, so let's do 5 just to make sure that's unique. And then let's just say live demos are fun and create a to-do. So everything you've seen so far is Fireplace and hosting apps, nothing really crazy there. And I got through that about a week and a half ago. And then I got to the next logical thing, which was I now have a file system directory with a bunch of data, car files with Fireproof data, and I've got a bunch of metadata. But my goal here all along was to better learn Fireproof. So I want to sort of dig deeper. So that's really the next phase of this demo. So as I said, there's a directory on your file system. So let's just take a look. If we look at Fireplace meta on this machine, I should pause for a second and say, is that font big enough for people to read?
Bigger.
Anybody?
Oh, am I muted? Make it bigger. We like bigger.
Make it bigger? Okay, bigger's fine. I can do that. Try that again.
That's great.
Is that better? All right, so we're looking, main thing we want to see here is this Fireside, oh, that's really terrible with the highlighting. FP Fireside 5 is one of the databases that we see. So let's just look inside of that. That's the one we just created. And we notice there's a CID here with some content. So let's just copy that. And let's, we're gonna, cat this thing out just to see what's going on in here. And so here we've got some JSON, and again, I'll spare you the adventure, and I'm going to tell you that this data section that you see here is actually base64 encoded. So let's quickly just decode that. And now we see there was other JSON inside of that, and it has 2 things that are useful for us. One is this key field. This is a hex encoded private key used for the encryption. And then we've got a reference to a car file, which we expect to find in that data section. So I said there's another directory full of data. Let's look at that real quick. And again, it's partitioned by the databases as well. So we go to Fireside 5. And we should see, KBQ is hopefully the same one reference. So the car file reference in the metadata is existing in the directory there. So now we're ready for what I've really been working on the last week or so, which is a utility to sort of open up the car file. I want to start taking apart the car file and working with the internals. So at the moment, it's just a command line utility, which just rips it all apart, called fpcar. It has a subcommand called full. I'm going to give it the key, which we just copied up here. And then I'm going to give it the path to that Fireplace data, Fireside 5, KBQ. So that's the command. That's just going to give it the private key and then a path to the car file. And this basically opens it up and tries to see what we can find. So the one thing we'll see is success right here. We see this is the document I created in the demo. Live demos are fun. So we're able to sort of decrypt things and see the data that we just put into the system. We see other things. This has like prefix and entry, so that looks a lot like probably an inner node of like the Prolly tree. And there's some other interesting things going on here. Everything that says tag 42 and then these numbers, those are other CIDs that can be followed to access other blocks. Again, this is a single car file database at the moment, so presumably everything we need is actually right here in front of us. But yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. Next steps, I plan to create some data structures to actually be able to work with these things in memory. I'll be honest, I don't think I'm too far away from a little bit of like a read-only view of the database. Seems like not a huge stretch from where I'm at right now. And yeah, long term, could this turn into a full read-write, member of the Fireproof ecosystem? Maybe, we'll see. At the moment, I think the read-only is realistic, so just sort of focus on that. And yeah, that's, I should mention this is not published yet, but I do plan on open sourcing this. I just have to clean up the code and publish it. My intent is to share this. This is my way of learning, is to sort of take it apart and put it back together again. And so yeah, hopefully this is useful to other people. If anyone has questions, I'm happy to take time and answer questions.
That's right. So that's all Golang, and you were able to use some of the Go IPLD tooling, but not like the custom data structure stuff, basically.
Yeah, so I'm trying to reuse libraries that are out there. Obviously, I stumbled on a bunch of the IPFS stuff that was out there that had already been built and for Go, and I'm trying to reuse it. My focus was getting things to work, though. I would say with some of the Go IPLD Prime latest stuff, I ran into some paper cuts, and I was just like, I'd rather this be working than correct. So I'll just keep working for now, and I can always circle back and refactor it later. The goal was just to, like I said, I wanted to see my own data. I can't trust the database where I put data and I don't know where it really is. So getting this level of like tearing it apart and seeing where my data actually exists is part of me just gaining confidence in how all this works.
It's awesome.
Matthew, awesome work. I would love to review your code, and then you mentioned about it could be get a full member of the Fireproof stack, the Go implementation. I'm very interested to help you getting that work.
Awesome. I'd love to do that. So yeah, like I said, I'm just cleaning up the code to see if it's sort of like able to be published, but I would imagine within a week probably I'll have this up online, and happy to get other people involved. Great.
Yeah, as I see, you also have a repo, so I could review it on your site just now.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will do that within the next days.
Oh, so actually the Fireplace code does not have the other code that I showed you. So the command line tool is not yet online.
Yeah. So if you are, you could, as soon as you are having that, I would be happy to.
So I'll definitely be posting a message to the channels here as soon as I have that ready. I'm eager. Okay. Hearing people excited about it motivates me to sort of keep moving on it. So I will definitely get that published soon.
Cool.
Yeah, that's really neat. It's going to be super useful that's the fun thing about doing stuff in Go is you don't know where it's going to turn up, who's going to want to use that. But that's really awesome.
I definitely knew where I want to use it. Of course, I want to replace the Typescript implementation with the wasn't one.
Right.
That could certainly be possible as a longer term outcome for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's not far away. Of course, you've basically done the basement work. We have only to make it compatible with the TypeScript implementation.
right. Yeah.
Well, welcome, Brad. Welcome, Travis. Good to see you both here. Next up, I was gonna have Eric share what Eric's been working on. Eric, you had said you couldn't talk, but Chris is gonna unmute you. There you go.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Eric, are you able to get your mute fixed? Yes.
How about now?
That's great.
Yeah, I am having some technical issues, unfortunately. Audio has been coming in and out, even other folks talking. So I'm not sure that I'll actually be able to show my app, which is a huge bummer, but I can at least paste the GitHub repo into the chat and talk about it. Not sure what the problem is. It seems like it's on Discord's side, but anyway, let me at least talk about what I've done. And there is the repo. This is a very simple and basic app. I'm not sure that it will be directly interesting to the folks attending this call. It's more demonstrating the power of Fireproof for front-end developers. A couple of the things that are really cool about Fireproof are that it enables front-end developers to get local, fully functional apps off the ground in an incredibly simple fashion with just a few lines of code, and interact directly with the data in the database, not via APIs or via a backend team, as is often the case. I wanted to show how easy that was to do. So I built a very simple habit tracker, which I was going to show you today, but I couldn't get audio working at all on my laptop. So I won't be able to show it right now, but it's trivial to use, especially for anyone here. It's just a really simple npm install, npm start, use the standard Facebook React template, and just put Fireproof on top of it.
I can share it real quickly. I've got it running here.
If you want, that'd be great.
So here's the app. I just put in a couple of habits that, eating cars, don't eat cars, eat food, yes.
Yep, don't eat cars, eating food is good.
I guess I made eating cars good, so we can add a bad one. Eat other stuff, I don't know. Variety's probably good in your diet, but here we go.
Yeah. So again, this is really just to showcase how to interact with the data, especially across multiple pages and this is geared towards front-end developers to see just how easy it is in the code. So,
I just pulled it down because there's not much else to show. I was going to try and show the code itself, but I can't get it on the screen.
Oh yeah, so there is another page that shows the data model in the little menu on the left, and you can. I wanted to show that you can actually interact with the data from multiple pages and how easy that is.
Oh, that's right. I didn't even notice your page.
For everybody here, so we can probably move on. Again, the audience for this is really front-end developers for whom back-end and database stuff is a little bit of a mystery, just to show how easy it is to get started with Fireproof. And especially interesting is that the data persists automatically. So when you close the session and go back in, you get the same data. And the idea here is enabling front-end teams especially to rapidly iterate on UI and design and things like that without having to worry about the back end initially. And they can see here what's actually going on within Fireproof and change how they model the data as the web app evolves. It's easy enough to actually edit the data live as well if you wanted to. Chris has a separate dashboard demo that I was hoping to integrate into this at a future step, which unlocks interesting possibilities in terms of interacting with the data directly and changing the app in that way. So this is really just about showing what Fireproof can do to new communities of developers. And yeah, that's the main thrust of what I did. If there's any questions from this group, I'm happy to answer them.
Thanks, Eric.
That's cool to see. So Travis, I don't want to throw you into this if it's too early for you because you're a West Coaster. But would you be able and willing to share anything about cloud progress?
Absolutely. Hey, everybody. Sorry, I'm literally just about to have my first sip of coffee. So yeah, it's a little early for me, but my name is Travis. I'm here in Oakland. If anybody's in the Bay Area, I'm always I would say that I'm always down to meet up, and I totally am. But I also have a 3-year-old, so that puts some constraints on my schedule. So, but anyway, I have known Chris for several years now, and have been plunking around with Fireproof in the background a lot. But I'm excited to have an opportunity to spend some focused time on it this summer. I did a little bit of work in the past few weeks to try to revive the IPFS / Web3 storage / UCAN connector. And I think we'll continue to be involved in pushing that forward. But for the summer, currently in the middle of birthday season at my household. My wife's birthday and my son's birthday are both 2 weeks ago, and mine's in about a week. And so once we're out of this period, I'm going to be focusing about half of my time during the week on pushing forward the cloud implementation. The goal is within the next 2 weeks to have something standing up that makes it very, very easy to get started, basically. The goal is just to be like, you type a little bit of code, we get you registered and set up, we get your space all set up, and then we just sort of drop you in, like the easiest getting started flow you could possibly imagine. All backed up by like a custom identity server that helps us kind of move Fireproof to the next stage. So I'm super excited about it. I'm a developer, like a front-end developer, mostly myself by trade and most of my career. And it's a long story that I'd love to tell somebody over when I have actually had a little bit more coffee. But I have been chasing something like Firebase like Fireproof for several years now, because I think it's a core part of moving the architecture of the web forward in a way that is really necessary for the users of the web right now. We kind of are in this really, really ugly spot with the entire web right now, and I don't think Fireproof solves everything that's wrong with the internet, but I think it addresses one of the core stumbling blocks that I've found for empowering people online in 2024. So anyway, I'm going to have some coffee.
Thanks, Travis.
That's great. Great. And then, Brad, I don't know if you're willing to share a little bit about the developer on-ramps work that you've been doing. We'd love to hear.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So developer on-ramp.
Maybe
I don't think that's far enough, Chris.
Yeah, maybe it's not there yet. I'll tell you what, Meno and I have been doing this big Typescript thing, which we'll hear from him about here in a minute. But I went and previewed getting your React Native pull request, rebased against it, and it looks like the patient is going to survive.
Nice. I can demo the actual React Native app using some test data if you guys want to see that.
That'd be sick.
Yeah.
Okay.
You've been
yeah,
busy.
I heard about that PR and was kind of worried that there were going to be, lots and lots of changes and conflicts and all that. I'm glad the patient's going to survive, so that's cool. Okay, so let's try to share my screen. Let's do this quickly. What do you guys see?
Nothing.
We see the game.
Oh, yeah.
Game 1, game 2.
Yeah, so this is just to review what we talked about last time. Essentially, something has come up in data modeling where we would like to have, this is a golf game, and the Fireproof crew is playing, and then I'm a couple of holes ahead of or behind Chris, and he wanted a game with me, even though we're not in the same group. So we would like to share this data among two databases as the unit of collaboration. So what we talked about last time was putting the game rules and the players and whatnot into their own game databases, and then have each round, which is a kind of an object itself that has a little bit of data, and then 18 objects inside that are the scores of the 18 holes. And so there's a round database per player. And we talked last time about maybe getting some indexing across that. So I've gone ahead and put some, can I do another one to change windows? Yes. Put some data into, you guys see the editor now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just a quick test game where we're using Fireproof React Native, which is part of the pull request I have. You create a test, which is basically creating a game, which adds the game specs, the game holes. Another thing I don't have in the drawing, but each, you're going to play 18 holes. Maybe you're only going to play 9 holes. You add the players, and then you create the round, and you need the round ID. It's kind of the pointer to the Fireproof database that Chris noted last time. By the way, Megan put that up on the web if you guys are wanting to review that that last month's Fireside Chat. And then the round itself, basically it has like a key value-ish type thing where you have the gross score and then the value. There are some other things that can happen, like you could have a birdie moniker or closest to the pin or something like that, which is a different key and a different value. But basically, I'm using this write doc to write to the round database and then displaying it here. So last quick change of the windows to the simulator. And let me know if you guys see that.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so really all this is doing, kind of like Marty's, is a read only, right? Can I read across 2 separate databases? So everything you see here, this is the name of the game, or this is just a label. This is the name. Our Friday, call it the big game, and it has 2 game specs in it. There's this scoring method, which is called Stableford, and then there's also skins. And then you have the holes. We're going to play all 18. And then you have everything below this. For each player, you have the round and the score KV. So the round and the score KV lines are coming from the round database. I just added this sequence undefined to try to get the whole number, but it's not showing up for some reason. So, but yeah, this is the score that you got on that hole. And I'm going to then begin to program the rules of the game and the logic based on the data that I fetched. So really the only thing that PR needs, Chris, is, maybe nothing, right? Maybe we can merge it, let the patient catch his breath a little bit, and then we can, the couple things that aren't checked there, there's difficulty in the indexes just for a single database. And I just don't know what's out of sync. And then there's also this notion of getting all of this data in one fetch from an index across multiple databases that you talked about. So not that those are needed, but yeah. And another thing, I don't know if this is going to be, yeah. So this is the crypto library app that I've basically been adding these subtle endpoints to. And subtle is what something under the covers of Fireproof uses. I forget which library it is.
It's the web crypto, which they put under subtle like because they think they're so special.
I understand that part. That's a go ahead.
It's a common API.
Yeah, no, I get that, right? But it was not active or not available in React Native, so I had to implement it. So Node crypto doesn't exist in React Native API. Web crypto does not, and subtle does not. So I have implemented derived bits, digest, generate key, sign verify. Really, the only import export key. The one I'm working on right now is this one here, and that will allow me to not do public equals true in the Fireproof database. We'll actually encrypt. So that's, by the way, the encrypt decrypt is working. It's the generate key for AES, so I can test it all that I'm working on now. But basically, this could go as well in the PR, or it could go in a subsequent one. So I think we should probably try to merge it and then deal with kind of the hangers-on in their own tickets or their own PRs.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I almost merged it already, but yeah, I think it's basically ready once we get it cleaned up.
Yes. Of course, it is cool that you have these implementation, but the integration will be somehow be different in future.
Pretty cool. So, is the Spicy Golf app available for beta testing yet? I know a few people who are interested in trying it out.
No, the version that I had out there in test flight was, I think it was used by about 100 of the guys at the club here in Atlanta. That is, I mean, it exists. It's not in the App Store, but it was in, like I said, test flight. It uses a lot of API calls to a graph database on the server side. So this is the main thing I'm trying to do in this rewrite. Is get, local first, get, replicas or syncing flying around, and kind of fix, not necessarily web, but mobile apps, just like Travis mentioned. And somebody else was talking before Eric, I think.
Yeah,
implementation might change.
Yeah, the implementation might change.
Someone's on mute. Fast and Fearless, you're on mute.
We can hear him.
Oh yeah, we hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
We can hear you.
Huh? But not all.
That's really weird.
That's kind of some kind of weird. Okay. I try still again. So in the upcoming implementation, there is an abstraction for the crypto thing. So you could basically move that what you did into this new API for React Native, and then everything is fine. So I prepared that we have the ability to plug in whatever crypto we want.
So basically, all your implementation stuff can just go in like a dependency injection instead of some weird polyfill.
Yeah, that's more like it. It's prepared that you can call the Fireproof thing in and pass the crypto in with the options.
If you have any links to that work in Node or in wherever that's happening.
Yeah, I can. I will talk.
Yeah,
about that.
Awesome.
yeah. I think it's like pull request 118 or something. It should be open in the PR list.
Yeah, it's called new structure. But that's not all. There's a couple of other things, and I digged into your PR, and that was also the reason why why we started to do the new structure. Of course, it basically clashes on all places with the existing code structure. But that doesn't mean that your native React Native will not be gone. It's more like it will be hopefully easier to implement in future.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Cool.
Well, thank you, Brad.
Cool.
And then Meno, do you have anything else that you'd like to share update-wise, specifically around the TypeScript refactor?
Yeah, I could start my whole journey within the last weeks.
Let's do it. We're ready.
I talked some weeks ago about with Chris about where to start, and we figured out that it might be a good start with SQL connector, and that I basically done. And during that process, I discovered that the Fireproof repo as itself is preventing easy development. I would say. So it's a kind of spread around. There's a lot of sub projects which aren't needed, and so packages and all these kind of things. It's basically impossible to debug something. So if you want to start a debugger at one point, it basically doesn't work. Of course, your next code is within another package, and so on and so on. So after completing the SQL connector, I discovered also that there are two APIs to the storage. So there's the connect API, and there's also the storage thing, and they are mostly the same, but not in 100%. And so you have to implement that in two ways if you want to do it in full way. Like saying, okay, I want to have an SQL thing, which enables you to have the local store, which is the files, for example. So Marty, your files could be also in SQLite, but it has the same structure, but some kind of different. But the contents are the same. And we can do other things like saying, okay, we want to implement it in a Postgres backend or whatever we want. And that's what I basically done. So I added a storage thingy, SQL, and a connect thingy. And due to that, after that, I came up with this structural problem, and we said, okay, I will jump into that. And that is a huge PR. It's not a small thing. It's basically a complete new structure, all the existing within the Fireproof. On external basis, it's absolutely the same. Nothing of, or the goal is nothing to break on the external usage. But internally, the whole repo is totally different working. And we are almost done with that. Currently, we are, or I and Chris, we are improving the test suite. So the tests are currently running in Node environment, and we want to have, or I want to have the tests running in Node and in the browser, but the same tests. So the whole test suite should run on Node, and it should run on in the browser, and in future it could be also run on Dino or on React Native. So that we are able to basically say, okay, whatever environment is coming up with that will be work. And if we've done that, hopefully then we are, I prepared a couple of smoke tests, which basically use the packaging during the, which we done if we release something, but use these pre-packed packages, the NPM packages, and see if it works from there. And there's currently only missing the React front-end test of the use Fireproof repo. So but if we done that, I think we are good to go, and we would love to share these pre-release thing before we merge it to main with you.
Yeah.
So that's,
Thanks a ton. It's been super helpful to make to have a pass through of adding clarity to the types. So the way we've thought about it is like, don't change the JavaScript in terms of the functions should be the same, but do resolve all the type errors, and then use that assurance to like refactor the code structure, as far as like how the files are laid out and the build is done. And so, yeah, we should be getting something that is 99% the same as the previous release from a functional standpoint, and then making sure the build is the same. And then that one, I mean, and then as soon as we're like, okay, yeah, that worked, we didn't introduce regressions, then it really sets us up for what I think is maybe the last significant pass of API cleanup, before we before we start freezing the 1.0 API. And so there's also, then there's room for us to do, the more advanced implementation in APIs, without like worrying about churning the stuff we have. And we could take like the existing API, treat it as a facade that calls into new implementations if we have them over time, etc. So yeah, I think we're going to be pretty well set up. The release after the next one, hopefully will incorporate all those changes and can kind of be starting on the road to like a 1.0 release candidate. Yeah. So thanks, Meno.
Sweet. Thank you. So, as you all can see, there's a lot of really talented individuals who are throwing into this project right now, and it seems like the pedals, we're pushing forward on the accelerator. We're really, this is like, it's been a heck of a month. So this is now a great opportunity for people to throw in by reviewing a lot of the hard work that everybody's done. So specifically, we've got the React Native merge. Do you want to drop that link in?
Yeah. Well, okay. So I think that if somebody wants to review and run that, who's like set up for mobile, that'd be great. And then the actual mechanical applying it to the new structure, I think is going to be kind of easy. But it's going to have to be done. So maybe what we should really be doing is like just making sure we communicate when that new structure is merged and ready for the React Native stuff to come over. Sure. And since I know the mechanical transform to that new structure, like if I had time, I'd be happy to bang out some of the diff stuff. I started on that last night. I got a PR up for it, but it's kind of trash. So anyway, maybe we just need to be in coordination about bringing that React Native diff over, so you don't have to do all the work, Brad. Mm-hmm.
I reviewed your PR before. So basically, if we're done with the new structure, I can overtake that and make it work. That's not the problem.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, we can divide and conquer if I see one of the new changes. I didn't think there was a big surface area where I touched. I mean, it was really just, storage native. And if that's kind of, needing to change or be called differently.
Yeah, I think it's all just going to get simpler.
Perfect. Yeah, good. Cool.
In terms of the internal implementation, I had been also fine, or basically fine with that, what you provided with the PR. But the tooling around it was some kind of ugly. So, and that we should clean up so that we are able to run also all these kind of things, for example, in the CI and all these kind of, so that's what I missed in the moment with the PR.
CI is a little difficult with React Native.
But
so you saw, yeah.
But we should do that, of course, out of the quality standpoint. So we should think about how we get that in one way abstracted away, or we have to pull it in and think about to have the stack available to all developers, not only the React Native developers.
Okay. Well, I guess then, yeah, that sounds like we're on track. If then the first step is going to be getting this new structure thing merged in, and if you're curious about that or want to help, the PRs are all up on the repo. The main one is a new structure one, and then there's one that I have that's a PR into that branch, which might just be fun to look at for like, oh, when the types are all cleaned up, you could do these kind of things. And I think even it's not really a behavior change. So, but basically, yeah, if anybody gets in there and just reads through those, then it won't feel like such a big change when the merge lands. So, and then I guess the other thing that we're ready for help with is, and especially folks who are getting, like writing apps, learning the APIs for the first time and stuff, is erasing the old bad documentation and writing new good documentation. And so maybe the right way to do that is to like, if you're somebody who's doing something kind of new or doing it for the first time, almost maybe think about like which tutorial is missing for you. Because it's easier to just like write a new little 3-paragraph. Here's how you could think about getting started, and here's what you should expect from your first experience or whatever. Than to coordinate like doing a bunch of little changes to existing stuff. So I would love it if anybody helps, write blog posts and things to have like a new version of the first time experience documentation. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. That's
Can you drop those links in? They're pretty obvious, but just
yeah, we'll put links in the chat. I'll put them in a minute here.